Back again this week, Nick and David. We're going to continue last week's talk on money windfalls, and then we're going to get to a whole bunch of stuff that we never get to. Feedback we've gotten, some success stories, stuff like that. This week, I'm only going to have one or two. I'm going to start with Pumpkin Ale from Doghead Fish. Dogfish Head.
Dogfish Head. Yeah.
And then if I decide I want another one, I got a vanilla Java Porter from Atwater.
There you go. I got to give a shout out to my brother again, still over in Wisconsin. So he went to Ale Asylum again. I got Ambergeddon, which I'm really excited about. I do enjoy a good amber and the malt that, the different malts that they use and all that. Go to the company that I absolutely loved, the beer. I'm not drinking that, but same red label, but this is a Cranbic by New Glarus. It's a cranberry sour, aged in barrels for at least 2 years. So very excited. I enjoy a good sour. And then because I had leftover, so I still have the New Glarus Staghorn Oktoberfest because we're in October and I enjoy a good Oktoberfest beer. So very excited about tonight's episode, right? Who doesn't like talking about big lumps of money either coming or going, baby? All of it on black.
So I got a lot of feedback this past weekend, Nick.
Yeah.
Al's going to be joining us here in a second. I just hit admit for Al. So my buddy Nelson swung into the business, pick up some gift cards for some of the workers at his place. And
there we go.
He told me that, hi, Al.
Hey, Al. What are you drinking? I see the bottle. What are you drinking?
I am actually not a beer drinker.
That's all right.
So all I have is Coke.
Hey, Coke drinks fine here, my man. We do kids shows. I had a root beer the other time. I mean, trust me.
So yeah, Nelson stopped by and him and I were talking, and he basically brought up the fact that we talk about things that nobody ever teaches. So he sits there and he listens to what we have to say, and he feels like he's learning stuff. So I thought that was great.
Victory.
Yeah.
Well, I started watching some of your shows. I think I've seen two. Like I said, I saw the last one with the Windfall.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting, because it was my career, finance, large corporate finance. And as you'll see from the story that I will discuss today, that I come from a little bit of money, not necessarily all of it through Windfall, but so that's kind of my background. I actually graduated with an economics degree, but only used it for about 3 years before I went to the private side and then got into corporate finance.
Gotta follow the money. What was the second episode you watched?
I can't remember, actually.
It was very memorable.
So do yourself a favor and watch them all, and you'll thank us later.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna. I think I didn't watch them consecutively, so the other one I watched was actually quite a while back.
Sure.
So
the thing about us is we don't do things in specific orders. We try to come up with new fun topics every week, and we want to hit everybody as much as possible. So.
Nick, you're not local, are you? You're Wisconsin or something?
No, I just drink a lot of Wisconsin beer because that's where my brother is at right now, so he brings it home.
Oh.
I'm in for everybody watching. So I'm in Jenison, Michigan, just southwest of Grand Rapids, I guess. So.
Are we recording right now?
We are recording right now.
Oh. Okay.
It's yep, and so I'm not too far from David. We just quarantine on TV screens now because that's how COVID makes us do it. So
well, yeah. We've mentioned a lot, Al, that this is what Nick and I used to do when we got together.
Mhm.
we just sit here and talk about these, random money subjects. And once COVID hit and we couldn't get together and do this anymore, we're like, hey, let's just get together on Zoom and do it. And we did it one time and we're like, hey, this is kind of fun. Let's start recording it and see what happens.
Well, it was kind of funny though, because 2 years ago, I had my 35th year class reunion for high school. And some of these people I haven't seen in forever, probably since the day we threw our mortar boards into the air. And so we came back for the class reunion, and we were talking about 401ks and 529s and all that. I'm like, can you imagine the last time we actually got together? We were talking about, for the guys, right? We were talking about what girls we were going to chase after, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, how many kids do I have? And 529s and retirement and 401ks. I'm like, wow, we've come a long ways,
So, Al, if it makes you feel old, because that's what I like to do is make people feel old. You said you had your 35th high school graduation.
Yes.
I wasn't even born when you graduated, so.
No, I believe it's quite possible that I've got to be top 5 oldest in our garrison.
Oh, geez.
Dan's older.
I think probably Godfrey is older.
Godfrey's definitely older.
So just so everybody knows, the garrison, right? It's we talk about when David gives his time, right? He donates his time. He dresses up as a
Star Wars.
I don't know, one of them Star Wars characters. It's a Tusken Raider. Boom! I nailed it.
Very good, Nick.
Yes.
I know Al has a stormtrooper.
I have a stormtrooper and an officer.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what the garrison is. So every time that you guys hear that, if you're like me and have no clue about Star Wars, say at least now you have somewhat of an idea of what they're talking about. So, but all right, I mean, Al, let's say we were talking a little bit about some positives, but I want to roll into your story. I mean, you've come from money. You've been around a lot of money. I mean, let's hear a little bit of that the background of windfalls of money.
Okay, so my uncle Herbert, which is my dad's brother, my family, of course, came from China and Hong Kong. Either they came directly from China or they came through Hong Kong, one or the other. But except for my father, most of them were not formally educated, almost to the point of being functionally illiterate, because they came from the old world China, the raising, subsistence living farming. But when he came to the United States, he worked in a Chinese restaurant in Boston. And that's where he learned the business until he saved enough to buy his own restaurant.
Really?
Yeah. So he ended up being a restaurateur. My dad became a doctor. And he eventually, when he married my mom, she was a school teacher. So from my personal family, or my immediate family, we were pretty well off. My dad was a government doctor, so he's probably at the bottom of the doctor pay range, but still, that's pretty good.
That surprises me because, right, we all think government everything just gets paid the most and has the highest everything. So that's shocking news.
Well, I mean, he is paid strictly salary, right? There's no per procedure pay as a government doctor. And he also, to be quite honest, because he worked at the Veterans Administration, I mean, he saw some of the really destitute and really bad cases, in addition to the ones that, you get to see, what do you call it? The ones that still keep in shape, but take advantage of the VA, but a lot of them don't. So unfortunately, there's a lot of, the homeless and the drugs and that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
But anyways, my Uncle Herbert ended up owning one of the largest restaurants in the Boston Chinatown. And then he also never married and never had any kids. So one of the things that many old timers from China, what they love to do is they always like to get together for, probably a Chinese tea. Maybe some of you are familiar with what dim sum is.
I love me some dim sum.
Yeah. So they all just sit and chat for hours, and it's always about gambling, government, gossip, and good food, right?
Sounds like I could fit into the Chinese culture, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
Especially the gambling and the food.
so although my uncle was never formally educated, he understood savings. And through the many discussions that he's had with his friends at his restaurant, I mean, like I said, they just sit there and drink and gossip for hours. He would hear investment tips here and there, and he didn't really know what he was doing. But back then, stocks were $2,500 for 100, or he just buy blocks 100 of whatever he heard. About 25 years ago, he ended up selling his restaurant just before the Boston Big Dig project reached the downtown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Big Dig, but there used to be a freeway that went all the way around Boston on the perimeter. So if you wanted to cut through Boston, you had to go all the way around, all the way around to get through. So the Big Dig was a tunnel that they built under the city. Okay. So you didn't have to spend that extra hour going around. You just shoot directly under, and it's one of the largest public works projects ever, in the United States. I remember I went for a wedding there. I don't know. I want to say when I was 12 or something. There are all these signs that said, "Oh, the Big Dig is up. The Big Dig is up." And then shortly after, about 10 years later, we went back for another wedding, and there are all these signs that said, "We're almost halfway done with the Big Dig." I mean, that's, it's like a 20-year project. But what the Big Dig did also was a lot of the city roads that used to be, highway entrances, and they got rid of them. They made them into greenscape. So they beautified the city, put the road under, and this restaurant that my uncle owned was right on the end of the street, and where they took out a road and made it green. So there were a lot of picnic tables and everything that they installed after they took out the road and put it underneath.
Sure.
But he ended up selling it, and coincidentally, a couple of years I went back, it's now a Vietnamese hot pot noodle restaurant. It's no longer a Chinese restaurant, but they're doing fantastic because people just buy a bowl and just go sit in the picnic table in the new area. So a year or two after he sold the restaurant, he ended up passing away. And I was in the middle of college at that time, and I really didn't understand any of what was going on with the estate or anything. I just knew that my dad had to take care of it. So in his will, what he said was he wanted his 3 remaining brothers to split evenly, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 2 of those brothers were out of the country. So my dad, they decided that over in Hong Kong and China, cash is king. Nobody wants to own stocks over there. It's not worth it internationally to do all that stuff. So they agreed that my dad would buy their share of the stocks that were in the portfolio. When they found out what was going on, the portfolio was worth almost $3 million. So my dad had to somehow come up with $2 million to buy them out. So that's what he ended up doing, was for a long time, our family, and once again, I did not know this at the time, ended up being very cash poor, but asset large. So we had a lot of stocks, but had no money.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. So the other part was what my dad didn't realize, and this is probably what maybe some of the viewers need to understand. You still need to file a tax return for the person in the year they died, right? So now we've got this $3 million estate that had to go through the whole tax thing, which my dad, I think now that he filled out all the extensions to get more time, but you still have to pay the interest on it, even if they waive the penalties.
Yep.
So it took him a long time to get that together, because once again, my Uncle Herbert was he was not he wasn't formally educated. He didn't have all these records and everything. He just, in the old days, the old Chinese says, oh, let me just buy some of this stuff, and he just bought it, and they sent him a receipt, and the receipt could have been in a drawer or in a book or wherever. So the bottom line was, we got penalized, or we got the interest we had to pay on that. It turns out for the next 3 years, we continued to find new accounts. So then we had to amend everything, pay more interest, more penalties, and the such. By the time we were finished, it looked like the account was close to $5 million, not the 3 that it initially had. So,
good problem to have.
Yeah, well, you know what? I guess when you want to talk about windfall, so this is a windfall. We ended up settling with the IRS for $350,000. I think it was $350,000. They just said, you know what? This has gone on long enough. So he just, and once again, being cash poor, so my dad had to sell some stock and whatever to come up with more cash to pay the penalties. But once we got the waiver, and whatever we found after that didn't matter anymore. We had settled the estate.
Sure.
And
not even 10%. That's crazy.
Well, I guess they wanted their money. They wanted their money.
Yeah.
And actually, I take that back. The 350 was on top of whatever that he'd already paid.
Okay.
So the 350 was to settle all future fines. Oh, Nick. All right. Yeah. So plus, my dad had to pay 2/3 out to all the other brothers because they were still entitled to 2/3 of everything that was discovered after the fact, right? So in the end, I understand why my dad lived the way he did. He's a doctor, and like, why are you, all of a sudden vacations went away. I mean, there's a lot of things that just stopped happening. But I get it now because he ended up with close to $5 million in stock or whatever it is by the time he was done with this, but he had no cash. So that's kind of the story that I brought along. I mean, that what he had. Oh, the last thing was I wanted to mention that some of these tips that my Uncle Herbert got sitting at the table were things like GE, Boeing, Gillette, this little startup called Microsoft, Apple. I mean, that's why the portfolio was so huge when we got it. Is these were all things that he knew nothing about, but people were raving about it, and he just said, "All right, well, let me spend a couple bucks on it and buy them." And
so, where did your dad find the cash? I mean, did he sell stocks to pay?
He had to sell some of that. Yeah, he had to sell some of his own personal stock. What he tried to do, and I think what he tried to do was keep our family money separate from the Herbert money.
Sure. So
he really took our family money down to like pennies in the bank account, even though he knew he had $5 million coming to But he always was an advocate that, look, we try and live within our means. So as far as I know, to this day, he still hasn't touched. Well, he's passed away for 5 years now, but my mom is in control of it now. To my knowledge, my mom has not touched that Herbert money since we've gotten it. I mean, what we did was we took the Herbert money and we gave it to two different investment people, so that we don't lose it all in one. It's not all in one basket.
Sure.
And as far as I know, she hasn't touched any of that. And
Do you know the value of it by chance?
yeah, it's over 10 now.
Is it? Wow, that's huge. So,
Yeah.
in that short of a time. So.
And then, of course, over time, my dad was able to rebuild, our own family fund a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say that it's small, but obviously it's $1 million less than where it was, where it should have been had he not had to spend all this money.
Sure.
But yeah, so he was a strong advocate of not spending the windfall. And he told me once, he goes, he actually, what he told me, he said, unless you get John Wayne type money, way back then, right? Unless you're getting John Wayne type money, he goes, just live within your means and set that money aside. I guess today we would call it, I don't know, Paris Hilton money or, something like that. But so that's kind of where
John Wayne with Paris Hilton. I mean,
yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, back then I guess John Wayne was the big guy or whatever. So
I would, Star Wars.
Sam
I would
Elliott.
go with Harrison Ford myself.
So Sam Elliott. I mean, right?
Well, back in the mid '80s. I don't know. Plus, remember my dad in the mid '80s. You have to subtract 20 years from the celebrities that he knows, right?
Right.
So he's thinking of celebrities in the 60s.
So my big question, so we know that the windfall came in and you haven't spent it, so you've been doing pretty all right with that. But you said your uncles over in China,
Yep.
right? They got their $1 million apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you kept in contact with them? Do you know anything about how their $1 million is looking?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So both of those uncles have since passed.
Sorry to hear that.
And they, of course, passed on their cash. One set of cousins, their kids, emigrated to Canada. They're in Toronto. They brought over a couple $1 million in cash, opened some sort of technology company. And that's now what they do over in the Toronto area.
Okay.
And then there's another one who elected to stay in Hong Kong, but he opened up a manufacturing company there. So they now manufacture something. I don't know what kind of widget they make over there, but they make something for export. So they've actually done well over there with their cash. I mean, I don't know, to the penny how their accounts are working over there, but obviously when one guy has a technology company in Toronto and the other guy's got a large manufacturing company in Hong Kong, you're doing all right.
Yeah, I think so. They've both taken their money and invested it into bigger and better things, I guess, right? I mean, it's not sitting necessarily liquid. And
Yeah.
now your mom's just sitting on a stockpile of money.
Yeah.
And so she's not living it up large and crazy right now. She's just getting by.
My mom still calls me up and says, I've got a Burger King coupon for $1. Let's go get some Whoppers. I mean, the woman herself is probably worth $3 million. She got another 10 million sitting on the side, and she's worried about $1 Whoppers.
She's a smart lady. Like, I mean,
that's how you keep your money.
Yeah, you see, there's
Yes.
people that spend it and people that save it. But let's say now, and you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 younger brothers. I'm the oldest.
Okay, so if and when your mother passes, do you guys get it?
Yeah, we do, which
Okay.
is why I live a little bit closer, me and my brothers, we live a little bit closer to the edge of our living within our means than normally a person should,
Sure.
because we know we have some sort of backup. We don't have access to it now, but we know it's coming, and if necessary, we can always get it.
Sure.
My mom's not going to put us out in the street, So,
Yeah. No, I always do that comparison with a lot of people, right? And we talk about it a lot in like David coaching inner cities versus, right? So like I look at my best friend and he comes from a very educated background, right? Both of his parents are engineers. Very, for us Midwest well off. He went to New York and then he was poor, but right. So Midwest well off, and he never, he went off to college. He went away, and I always was jealous of the fact that like, he doesn't have to worry about if he fails, because somebody will always pay that $600 for rent or however much, like that I don't care if it's 20,000, like somebody will pay that. Myself, like I'm like, if I leave, I'm just on the street. Like I don't have a financial backing. I don't have any of that. So I think like you say, you live a little bit higher on the edge, but it's, because that you have that windfall coming in, that, I think it's a lot like credit cards as well, right? Like people are like, if I could spend this on this little thing because I know that I have it, for worst case scenario. And sometimes worst case scenario takes effect, and that's how we see it. But right, I mean, when you're sitting on, I don't know, your mom has 3 million, let's say, right? You know that if you need $1,700 to make a house payment or whatever it is before you go to sell your house, it's not like it's going to go into foreclosure. Yeah, you'll have to sell it, but you won't hit foreclosure. Where if I hit it, right, like I'm foreclosure, it's guaranteed. Nobody's gonna bail me out and take the money later. So, oh, that's good to hear. Do you know what you're gonna do with all your money? I mean, you're gonna go invest and buy a business, or?
Oh, well, right now, actually, my three brothers and I, we already manage our own. We have a three brothers investment account. That's majority where my current assets come from. I worked, like I said, in finance until, how private equity companies always come and they buy up companies and this and that. So my company got bought, gave us cash. Then we had enough cash to go buy a couple other companies. And all of a sudden they ended up with too many finance managers. And I was probably the most expensive one there. So I got the ziggy on that, but I chose not to go back to work. As long as I've known David for 3 years, I've done a couple of contracts, short-term contracts, which is fine. So I guess I'm part of the gig economy now. But no, how can I say it? I try and help people around. I mean, even David, I gave them tons of bottles and printers for their business. And anyway, when we're done, I want to talk to you about some of that stuff. I got some more stuff.
Fantastic. Well, and I can say that, it's turning into one of those things where we have a lot of this turnover at our place too, Al. So, somebody will leave my job, my company, and they'll retire or look for a new job. And within 3 months, they're getting all these contracted work. And yeah, they're not necessarily getting benefits on top of whatever they're making, but they're, making a good salary to basically just consult or do a certain project or, what have you.
Right. Yeah. And then, like I said, I basically spend most of my time now managing the three brothers' accounts. And we actually use that account because, once again, living further on the edge, we're taking some really big risks with that account. I mean, we bought maybe about a year ago when they came out with those Lego Lego Star Destroyers, right? Those $700 ones or whatever. Yeah. We're like, well, the last time they did that, they're now you can't buy them for less than 1,000 or whatever, and they're only 200 back back then, So we said, all right, so we bought two,
Yep.
So we're sitting on those right now. We have things like classic World War II rifles. They're not making those anymore. We bought a couple of critical key comic books. I can't even remember them because I don't know anything about comic books, but I know that they're on everybody's key list, and then we also got them very high grade. So this is the kind of stuff that we're sort of looking at doing with our money. We took a chance with a restaurant as well. We had an opportunity to partner in a restaurant. That didn't work out so well because they're tough. But luckily for us, somebody wanted the building, and they were willing to pay us to get us out.
There you go. So you got lucky.
And we still lost, but the amount that we put in compared to what we got paid, it made it less painful. But we just figured, with this money we can do high risk, high reward. But going back to the Windfall thing, I don't think anything that we've done or anything that I've done has been like Ferraris or multiple trips to Hawaii or anything like that. My condo is worth only, I bought it for $120,000 20 years ago, and I haven't moved. It's a home, it's a place that I need, but it's not anything that I wanted to pour a lot of money into. It serves my purpose, and it's cheap. So I don't know. I mean, I think I almost hate to say it that I'm a lot more like my dad than I was ever willing to admit to him while he was alive. But maybe he's listening to me now say, "Oh, I'm probably just like you, Dad."
Well, it's one of those things too. You grow wealth and you get wealth by not doing those extravagant things. When we were talking to Jim last week, it really, we hit that, hey, your mom won the lottery twice. And Jim didn't say, yeah, we took 3 vacations to, we went to Hawaii and we went to, I don't know, Greece, and we went to Paris. He didn't say those things. No, I know it paid for his education at U of M.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So he really did get a great deal out of that, but it wasn't like she was running around spending money wildly, because she wasn't.
No,
and that's how you sit there and you grow that money. You don't sit there and do extravagant things that Nick's been in a position where obviously he got laid off earlier, and now he's working again, doing some other stuff, and obviously his investments are what really is driving his portfolio at this point. And when you look at me, my wife opened the business, and for a while there it was really tight because I'm the only one making money. But now that the business is becoming more and more successful, she's drawing a salary, I'm doing my thing. And even when people talk to me or Nick, they're like, all right, well, how long are you going to do what you do? I know with Nick, he wants to retire in about 10 minutes.
Signing off, boys.
With me, it's, hey, I work from home. I work with my cats. I like what I do, so I'll keep doing that. I got no problem doing that, but I want to do it on my terms, which is, hey, you want me to come into work? Yeah, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I don't want to go to work. I'll stay here.
Yeah, I think for me, being off for so long, I've seen every episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation 10 times. I can quote you stuff. Within the first 5 seconds, I can tell you what episode's coming on. I think I've been joking with Jim Lowry that I said I'm probably the best TV JD, a lawyer, because I've watched every episode of Law and Order 50 times. I think I'm the best TV MD because I've watched, every episode of House and, all these medical shows. So as far as the TV scripts, I'm the best lawyer best doctor, and pretty soon I think I'm going to be the best detective because I've been watching all of the TV shows, and so I'm actually looking to do something. It may not be back in finance again, and it might not be for big bucks, whatever it is, but part-time job somewhere doing something just to stay busy.
You should look oh, David, what's the show? Oh, Ozark. And what's is it Single Moms or something like that? Not single. The other one with money laundering, right? And you could be like the world's greatest money launderer.
Dawn says Working Moms.
Is it Working Moms? I don't know.
I've never heard of that show.
Just say, yeah, but it's all like money laundering stuff. I mean, right? So when I first started,
we were closed for like 10 weeks. I know Dawn binge watched all of Ozark because she told me, she goes, I started watching Ozark, it sucks. And then all of a sudden she goes, I can't stop watching Ozark. And she goes, I can't believe Ozark's over. I need the next season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still a lot of things in there. Being a finance guy, I don't really understand fully how he gets away with what he gets away with, but I've seen my share of stuff happen because, when I used to be the finance director for the auto supplier, we dealt with global accounts, and we've seen some pretty shady stuff come across. Normally what happens, and this is hilarious, we dealt with Venezuela, and Venezuela is what they call closed currency country. So you always have to have all international payments approved by the government, and you have to present tons of documentation. So usually what happens is we send an invoice, but on the invoice there's already freight and shipping to the United States on there. But we also send them a copy of the freight bill because they need to justify that cost on the invoice. It looks like they keep presenting both pieces of paper separate, because when we were getting the payments, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we overpaid a few $100,000 because we double paid the freight. Can you refund it? But we need you to refund it to, I don't know, El Banco de Florida or something. Well, Banco de Florida, I mean, that's not even in Venezuela, So we kind of figured that if they could get one or two of those out, then, that's, $500,000 or whatever it is that they've just moved out of the country.
Yeah.
And we were always wary of that. We'd always ask them, are you sure this is where you want it to? So we had to get our ducks in a row before we sent money to, El Banco de Florida, because we didn't want to be involved in that either. But I've seen a lot of ways that people move money through the countries.
So no, I'm glad to hear that you guys' Windfall is working out for everybody. I mean, it sounds very successful.
It was a long ways to get there, though. I mean, I just wanted to specify that, you got to get your taxes, you got to get your records and all that stuff in order.
But, one of the things I think I love about it is, right, it's a windfall for one, but it's everything that we talk about is like, right, slow and steady wins the race, and eventually you'll get there. Like, your uncle took years and years to build something, and then it was gone, gone in a day type thing. I mean, it took your dad a couple of years to get people money, but like, right, it took somebody so long to build $3 million, and then one person has it in a day type thing, So it's right, when you invest smart, invest wise for the long-term thing, it'll have your long-term gains, just like we talk about all the time on here. I say we talked about feedback a little bit right in the beginning of this, and right, that's some of the feedback I get from some of my friends. So a lot of my friends are a little older, like David's age and stuff like that, right? And it's, they always go to me, hey, I enjoy watching it because it reminds me that what I'm doing is right? They're like, it's not always easy, but it's right, because, I always look at, hey, I want to go buy a hot tub, or I want to do this, and it's, nope, I got to make sure I stay, and it's hard because, right, when you're 20 and you start a 401k, if you're smart enough, right, you start a 401k and you look at it, it's like $100, and then, by the time you're 30, it's, 10 grand, and then by the time you're 40, right, you're in the 150,000. You're like, I don't even remember getting to that point, right? It just keeps going and going, and then, by the time retirement happens, you're at $1 million. I mean, it just keeps going there. So, you don't remember nobody remembers $20, but everybody remembers $1 million quickly, you know? So.
Right. And then you also, $1 million, even if you're only getting paid, 3% on that, you're getting 30 grand a year for sitting on your butt.
Yeah. And you can out earn that. Say we talked about that in the fire episode, right? Say 4% is what you're kind of be able to draw off of things, 40 grand off $1 million. And, I talk about doing it all the time right now, is just selling off my stuff and sitting sitting on a big chunk of change. But, I want more out of life, and I want to get to a certain point. So I don't, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave.
Go ahead, Al. Go ahead.
I said I always used 3% for my calculations, because after dealing with pensions for so long and overestimating pensions, and all of a sudden finding out I have to make a much larger contribution than my growth, I always pick the smaller number within the range. So my estimate's always 3%, but you know what? I'll take 4%. 40 grand is better than 30.
Yeah. I mean, even if you take 40 every year, and let's say you do end up going down to 900,000 by the end of it, I mean, you've lived off 40 grand for who knows how long, and then you've only used 100 grand out of your money. So, where if we go 3% and you still have $1 million, and the fact is like you've never actually touched that full amount of money, so you're sitting comfortable. Live within your means. Don't
Yeah.
Say, David, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say, even with the up and down year we've had this year, when I look at my 403B, I'm still sitting at somewhere between 6 and 7% for the year. So, I mean, we took that big tank in March. I made all that money back plus some.
Yeah.
And even I sat with my mother's financial advisor on Monday, and, when she started that portfolio, it was 250,000 that she got from my aunt. And, when we sat at the first of the year, she was at like 248,000. And now, because she's basically been even and taken some money out, she's sitting at 220.
Yeah.
But when you look at everything and you figure, okay, well, my aunt passed away in October of 15, so she's been gone 5 years. She's lost 30 grand out of that original $250,000, and she's taken a lot of money out of there. You have to have a realistic look on what am I doing here. So, I told Nick this, about a year ago. I pulled back on her accounts, and I said, we need to go conservative. I do not trust the economy right now. And everything we did was take the money out, throw it into a bunch of bonds, and we'll just sit here. So now the recovery that we've made, she has not made it in any stretch of what everybody else has. Obviously my account's done way better, but when everybody lost money in March, she didn't lose hardly anything. She went down a little bit and came right back to where she was.
Sure. So on a fun note real quick, I have a beer, it's completely sealed, and I tell everybody, the only reason I wear a wedding ring, right, is not to prove that I love my wife. It's literally just to open my beer so I can manage my wife forever, right? So take it and crimp it up. But I think, right, I'm dealing with that with my mom and getting her to understand, hey, you're going to have to take these draws because, right now, let's say she's making, I don't know, 35,000 a year, and she's at quite a bit of money in her 401. And I'm like, look, you could pull 30,000 or your 40,000 a year off of it and never touch it. And she's like, well, I don't need 40,000 a year. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, your house is paid off, your car is paid for, everything's like paid. And she's like, and I was like, look, but you have to take a certain percentage, right? It's a guarantee, like you have to. And I was like, if you don't want to, then invest it into something else. Like throw it into stocks. I don't really care. Like, but they're gonna force you to pull money out, and you hope that it grows. I mean, so
government eventually wants its money. They're gonna make you do the RMDs. So yeah. So
RMDs? Question mark?
Required minimum distributions, right? Is that what
there
you're
we
talking
go.
about?
I mean,
correct.
I'm one of our listeners. I have no clue what RMD stands for. Required minimum distribution. So, you're a finance guy. You have this background. I sit here and deal with SFRs and LVTs and all these like acronyms all day long. And
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, all right, real estate, is it warehousing? Oh no, this is financing. So
Yeah. So, right, assuming that was some sort of tax-free money that your 401k or whatever, the government never got its cut of that, and they want it now, and they don't want to wait. So they're going to force you to start taking it out. So they start getting their cut, and it's probably going to be a lesser percentage than what it was when you put it in, because you were working when you put it in at a higher tax rate than when you're taking out now when you're not working.
Sure.
So we're already losing money for however many years, and they just want their cut. So that's the required minimum distribution.
sure,
I think they even cut that back. It used to be you had 20 years to take it out. I think now they've required it. If you haven't already started it, they grandfathered in the older ones, but I think the newer ones, you only have 5 years to take it out. So if you had $200,000, they're going to make you take out $40,000 now instead of, over time when you only had to take out $10,000.
sure.
So whether you need the money or not, they're forcing you to take out a lot of it now.
Yep. Well, that's, I say taxes are a big game, right? Everybody's going to find the loophole and take advantage of it, and everybody's going to have to pay them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
So going a little bit back to when you were talking about the losses during March, I said earlier that my mom actually has, or the Herbert account has two different financial advisors on that. One is very aggressive, and one is very conservative. And the conservative one naturally is much more defensive, did not lose as much, and the other one lost big.
Oh yeah.
But with the amount of the market being down, they made a lot of purchases based on fundamentals, not on emotional. And now the aggressive account has roared back way more than the conservative one.
Sure.
So I'm going to say, we're even farther ahead now totally than we were before. The conservative one, I think we're still a little bit in the hole. Like Nick said, maybe they, lost a few percentage points or whatever, but the other one is, I'm almost going to say like 20% ahead.
wow.
There was at some point where, you couldn't get Amazon, Amazon's what, $3,200 a share now. It falls down to $1,800. I mean, when are you going to get that opportunity again? Who would have figured Amazon would be the one that would just pop during this whole pandemic thing? Somebody over there saw it and they said, well, you know what, we think it's going to just pop. Same thing, Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot. I mean, all these big names, unfortunately, they're all big names, and the mom and pops got shut out, but that's how they operated, and we've done very, very well on the aggressive one.
We've talked about stocks a couple times, and we're not financial advisors legally. We can't tell people.
Right.
I think one of my favorite things to hear from people is, you always see those memes on Facebook, which I am officially not allowed on for 24 hours because of something I posted 10 months ago on Christmas Eve. It's hilarious to me, but no. So, right, you see, hey, if you could go back, 20 years, what would you tell yourself? And everybody's like, buy Amazon stock, or they say buy Google or something like that. And you always see these things. And then, right, you just said it, right? It's $3,000. It went down to $1,800. When are you ever going to get that opportunity? But how many people didn't take that chance, right? Because they were risk here. They were like, no, and they always you're never going to get that chance. And if you do get the chance again, chances are you're not going to take it again, right? I mean, you don't get these things, and then when it happens, you don't take it. We talk about David, right? I mean, Disney. Yes, it's gone back, and if he lost, he lost, but he bought it at what, 60, 80 a share, 70 a share, something like that.
That was between 60 and 75.
Right now it's up to 100 and something again. It just, yes, you look like a hero when it hits, and you look like a zero when it loses, right? I mean, I think when you look at things, right, statistics show, hey, these things rebound, companies do this, it's gonna happen. So, David, what's some feedback you've gotten then?
So I'm sitting at work on Saturday, and between appointments, I'm texting people, and I shot a text out to Sharon. I haven't talked to her in a while, and she goes, "I got to tell you, I watch you and Nick every week. I think you guys are great, and you have a lot of fun, and I'm learning so much." And I was really, encouraged by that. So I mean, on Saturday, I got her and Nelson both saying, "Hey, they're listening. They're getting a lot of, good stuff out of the crap we say." Which, hey, we're just. I've said it a million times. I said it earlier in this episode. This is what we did together all the times, and we're still just doing it. Talking about, hey, this works, this doesn't. We like this, we don't like that. So I was really excited by that. We talked about some success stories. I brought up last week the one consult I did where they ended up a $2,600 bill. They settled for $650 or so.
Yeah.
Which I just think is fantastic. I got another consult coming up tomorrow. I'm going to see what I can do with their finances and see a way to get it. And so, Nick, I did one 2 weeks ago. You're going to love this. Buddy says, "Hey, I got a big money problem." So I'm like, "All right, let's sit down. Let's look at this. We'll figure it out. Let's get a budget." Nick asked me how much in debt he is.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Oh, big money problem. A friend, 43,000.
Yeah, he's like $6,000 in debt.
Oh, geez. So it's easy to come out of.
I looked at it and I'm like, dude, this is not a big deal. He's like, "Oh, it's horrible." And he's one of these guys that very talented, sells a lot of stuff because, he has to pay bills because he's $6,000 in debt. So I start delving into this debt of his. He has one set of debt that does have interest on it. It pays off next November, but there's an early payment penalty. Fine. I don't like penalties. Let's just ride this, whatever. He tells me about the other two debts that he has. One has no interest until May, and one has no interest till like October of next year.
Oh, this is David debt.
Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah.
Correct.
This is if you're educated in finances, it's smart debt, right? I mean, again, I don't do credit cards. David does. I need to because, right, you get an interest-free loan, you could out-earn that money, right? So if he's $6,000, let's say he's $6,000 just on one of them, just one, $6,000. You take that $6,000, you put it into an account. Lake Michigan, you're making $15 a month, right? So by the end of 6 months, right, we have $90 that we didn't pay towards that debt. So that's awesome, man. So
I don't mean to make light of it, but when people usually come to me with, "Hey, I have a really bad debt problem," they're 20, 30,000 in debt, and we're making 24-month plans. I'm sitting here looking at this going, "Yeah, you'll be out of debt, in 10 months."
3 weeks? No, it's like, David, I want to let you know I'm in debt, up to my eyeballs. I'm millions of dollars in debt. Okay, I will. Anybody out there, if anybody knows me and if anybody's watching, I am millions of dollars in debt. Okay, so it's the joy of the game, right? They tell me leverage is key. So.
Yeah, so I was really excited about that stuff. I started telling you, Nick, right before we started recording that I'm looking at doing a 15-year refi on the house because I got 22 years left and I want it paid off sooner than that.
Yeah.
And I can save about a percentage point by doing it, so I might as well just make the plunge.
Just so everybody watching and listening, right? So this is a real conversation that happened right before we hit record. And so, right, me being who I am, I instantly go to David. I said, "All right, how quick until your refi cost pays for itself? Could you just overpay?" And we start talking all these numbers, and we're like, "Hey, let's wait for the episode." Right? So like when you have that person second guessing you and making sure that what you're doing is the right move, the right, it's funny because I heard David's wife Dawn, "Oh, this is going to cost us money," and then it was like, oh man, so nope, it's educated money that we're spending to save money in the end. And here's my payoff. Here's my equal. You know, I really enjoy that. You know, I had a small victory for myself. My wife and I were talking. We bought a new couch used because the person had it in their basement. They said they sat on it twice. I mean, this thing looks brand new. You know, people don't use their basements. I barely use mine. I used it for the first time in 5 years when COVID hit. But I paid $600 for the thing, right? And it came out of our vacation account because we didn't go on vacation this year. And all of a sudden it hit me. I don't have a job, so I'm not putting money towards my vacation account anymore, which I used to put good money towards it. And I'm sitting here going, all right, my bank account's doing pretty good. And then I was like, oh man, I got to get back into that. So like I drove to I went and withdrew some money and put it into the vacation account to make sure that you know, I want to be back to where I was. Like, I don't want to forget my goals and my dreams because I'm so used to everything being automated. That's why I don't have a credit card, because I would forget, right? I'm like, oh yeah, it was supposed to pay itself and it never did. No. You know, it's small victories, right? It's having conversations with friends saying, hey, yeah, I want to go to 15 years. Is it worth it? You know, I owe this much on it. So I think doing these episodes makes me constantly, because I have to think about what I'm talking and making sure I'm telling you guys. Like, I'm always the person that, like, if I'm going to speak it, I'm going to do it. So I check myself all the time, be like, am I doing what I say? Yes, I am. So.
Well, I think that's a good point, Nick, because we sit here and we do this with each other, and you know, money's one of those taboo subjects you never talk about. You never tell anybody what you make. You never divulge any of your financial information. It's embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. But if you're not doing those things, how do you know if you're really doing well? I mean, obviously, you know, if you're sitting on $5 million, you know you're doing well. But
Al.
Well, it depends, you know, I mean, right? Because there's a lot of, you know, second, third generation people who, you know, never learned the value of the work or the money. I don't know what the statistic is, but I hear, you know, most of the time it's gone after the third generation.
Yeah.
Well, it takes, what is it? It takes 2 generations to get us to get like a wall in air, right? To build it. So it takes 2 full generations to get that massive amount of money with everybody investing everything. Or it's either a Walton or a Rockefeller, right? So like it takes 2 generations to build that type of a thing. So like I know, hey, I don't come from much, so I mean my goal is to be that first generation and teach my kid. I mean, I love, even today, right? Like I picked her up and I'm like, hey, we got to go work on this, and she just gets and I'm like, nope. Like, you don't have to be in real estate like me. You don't have to, but like you will learn, you know, the ability to work. You will learn, you know, how to pay for things yourself. I'm going to teach her. Like, there's things that you have to do in life that you don't want to do. You'll never be wealthy enough to just pay somebody to do everything for you, right? I mean, even if she hits the lottery, I hope she never has somebody do everything for her. So
I got to fix my toilet tomorrow morning because it's leaking. So I got to take all that stuff apart and do it. But right, I mean, I could pay somebody $150, or I could go $15 at Home Depot and you know, buy the float and put it in myself. So
or you could pay me $150 and I'll come do it. I mean, 150 sounds pretty good. Like, I could use some money. Hey, you got any work I could do? No. Oh no, it's yeah, you know, we love feedback. David, I know that you've been excited. I've been excited. David just got a shipment in of something really awesome that we're so proud of. We think they're just cool. We know, check these out, anybody that's watching. So these are official Bucks and Brews bumper stickers.
Well, I wouldn't say bumper stickers because they're not very big.
Well, window stickers. I mean, they're a sticker. They're not like a window cling. They're a sticker. So, right, put them on your laptop. Put them somewhere. So first of all, right, David, who's our first one that we're giving the first one to?
We were gonna give one to Jim.
Jim, for being a guest.
We were gonna give Michigan Wine Company
for being our first sponsor. We appreciate that alcohol.
I know. Go ahead, Nick. I know one you want to give.
I say, you know, with all this, I mean, Al even thinks I'm from Wisconsin because of how much I'm drinking Wisconsin beers. Big shout out to my brother. I'm gonna give him one of these stickers. He's definitely gonna rock one. And Al, for being our guest tonight, we're definitely gonna make sure that you get one of these stickers. Anybody else that wants one, right? Shoot us a message down below in YouTube, right? Reach out to us on Facebook, something like that. We're gonna pick a few people. Tell us how we've impacted you. Tell us what successes. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. I mean, dude, I'm probably gonna pick the one that doesn't like me because I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna buy your happiness. No, right? Tell us about our channel. Tell us these things. I'm really excited, right? And everybody needs to rock this thing, right? I don't care if you get 1 cent and you like light it on fire, dude. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. We have a few people we definitely want to give some. Dude, Andre should get one.
Oh yeah,
Our very first guest, who I think that's my favorite episode.
I think doing the youth stuff, man, is our definite big thing, right? Watching
A lot of fun.
Right. I'm gonna send one. I'm sorry. Who was the son that watched our episode?
Oh, Christy's son, Ethan.
Christy's son, Ethan. Christy, you don't get it, but Ethan gets it. Right, and he can put one on one of his bags and make it the savings bag, right? Like, so he officially knows that this Ziploc bag is officially like the money saving bag. That's the best thing, I think.
We'll have to get one to TJ too, because he bought his first house after talking to us two idiots.
Man, dude, that was a success story and then some. So, all right, guys. I know we're gonna wrap it up here. So, as always, like, subscribe, share. Make sure you comment because you want one of these stickers. I mean, I know I'm gonna plaster them. Give us some feedback.
It was good to sit with all of you again. Al, thank you so much for joining us. As usual, I'm going to stop on the record and we're going to keep talking because that's what we do. But we'll catch all of you guys next week. And thank you for listening.